The Age of Discovery, also known as the Age of Exploration, was a transformative period in European history spanning from the 15th to the 17th century. During this time, maritime powers set their sights on vast, uncharted oceans, driven by an insatiable quest for new trade routes, territories, and untold riches. As Spain amassed wealth from its colonies in the Americas, a question loomed large. How could England, with its relatively modest naval presence, compete for a share of this bounty? The answer lay not in traditional naval warfare, but in a daring practice that blurred the lines between legitimacy and lawlessness: privateering. These so-called royal pirates, sanctioned by the Crown, embarked on perilous voyages to seize enemy ships and claim their treasures. What motivated these privateers? Were they heroes of the realm or mere opportunists? As we explore their exploits and impact on England's rise as a maritime superpower, we will uncover the complex legacy of privateering and its role in shaping the course of history during this remarkable era. The essence of the Age of Exploration was fundamentally driven by trade, with colonization serving as a mere byproduct of this economic pursuit. For the British, who entered the overseas ventures relatively late, it was not the allure of vast, uncultivated lands in America that captivated their interest, but rather the immense wealth being plundered by the Spanish from the New World, particularly gold and silver. By the late 16th century, Spanish colonies in the Americas were producing approximately 83% of the world's precious metals, a staggering figure that underscored Spain's dominance in global trade. This wealth was primarily extracted from rich mines, such as those at Potosi in present-day Bolivia and Zacatecas in Mexico. The treasures transported across the Atlantic on galleons laden with gold and silver not only fueled Spain's opulence, but also ignited fierce envy among its European neighbors. Other nations, particularly England and France, began to covet a share of this bounty, leading to increased maritime competition and conflict. To stake their claim on this newfound wealth, the English turned to a method that was both direct and audacious: privateering. Privateers were essentially privately owned ships authorized by a government through a commission known as a letter of marque. This legal document permitted them to attack enemy vessels during wartime. While they operated similarly to pirates, privateers had the backing of their governments, which provided them a semblance of legitimacy. In this context, it is important to note that privateering was not unique to England. Other maritime nations, such as France and later the United States, also issued numerous letters of marque during conflicts. For instance, during the War of 1812, American privateers captured an estimated 1,000 to 100 British merchant vessels, far exceeding the U.S. Navy's record. From an economic standpoint, privateering allowed governments to augment their naval power without incurring significant costs. By mobilizing privately owned armed ships and sailors, states could engage in maritime warfare while sharing the financial burden. For privateers themselves, this venture offered potentially higher earnings than traditional merchant shipping. Captured enemy vessels would be taken to prize courts where their legality would be determined. Once deemed legitimate captures, they could be sold at auction with profits divided among investors and crew members. Governments typically retained a share of these profits as well, often between 30% to 40%. This arrangement made privateering an attractive prospect for many seafarers who preferred its lucrative nature over conventional naval service. During Queen Elizabeth I's reign, 1558 to 1603, privateering flourished as a patriotic endeavor. Elizabeth prioritized naval strength, recognizing its importance in asserting England's power on the world stage. The era saw not only political and religious consolidation within England, but also substantial advancements in naval technology and shipbuilding. The development of faster and more maneuverable ships, particularly galleons, allowed English privateers to effectively challenge Spanish dominance at sea. However, despite these advancements, England was not yet a true maritime empire. The defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 is often viewed as a defining moment for England, marking its emergence as a formidable naval power. This victory not only thwarted King Philip II's plans to invade England, but also established England's reputation as a dominant maritime force. More than a century later, the Battle of La Hogue in 1690 further solidified Britain's status as a global maritime superpower, showcasing a mature navy capable of projecting dominance and securing long-term control of international trade routes. Back in the 16th century, privateers like Sir Francis Drake became national heroes as they disrupted Spanish treasure fleets and seized valuable cargoes. Drake's exploits were emblematic of this golden age of privateering, where state-sanctioned piracy became a means to bolster national wealth without directly engaging in war. In 1577, Drake embarked on his famous circumnavigation of the globe from Plymouth, returning in 1580 as a national hero and receiving knighthood from Queen Elizabeth I. A remarkable transformation from pirate to nobleman. Back then, Plymouth's name carried historical significance as both an English naval hub and a center for religious dissenters seeking new opportunities across the Atlantic. Drake's journey not only showcased English naval prowess, but also inspired future generations to pursue careers in exploration and privateering. Interestingly, the term Royal Pirate, often used informally to describe these privateers, reflects their dual identity. They were both celebrated adventurers and sanctioned raiders. This duality contributed significantly to England's growing naval culture and its eventual rise as a dominant maritime power. In an era marked by limited royal authority and a lack of codified legal frameworks, English society relied heavily on voluntary participation from its citizens in political, economic, and military endeavors. This decentralized approach allowed for rapid mobilization of resources and manpower during a time when opportunities for wealth through exploration were abundant. The reliance on privateers allowed England to project power without bearing the full financial burden of maintaining a large standing navy. This approach mirrored modern asymmetric warfare strategies where smaller forces leverage unconventional tactics against larger opponents. However, privateering was not without its risks. The line between privateering and outright piracy was often blurred. Many privateers turned to piracy once their commissions expired or during peacetime when opportunities arose. This shift posed challenges for governments trying to maintain order on the high seas. Moreover, while privateers contributed significantly to wartime efforts, they also created long-term issues for naval authorities. After conflicts ended, many former privateers found it difficult to reintegrate into civilian life or traditional naval service, leading some to continue their exploits as pirates. Given these considerations, the legalization of privateering poses significant strategic risks for a nation. For countries that prioritize centralized power, the benefits may be apparent, but they often remain reluctant to embrace such practices. Even during the age of exploration in the West, the tolerance for privateering varied from one nation to another. In the next video, we will follow Captain Drake's journey to explore the maritime path of the British Empire. If you're interested, please check out our video list of the Age of Discovery and subscribe to our channel. And feel free to leave your questions or thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.